Mikey was arguing with me, and we were talking about Karl Anthony Towns. And Karl Anthony Towns has 3 years left on his deal. He, 2 years ago, got a big contract from the Timberwolves, Tom Thibodeau. Tom Thibodeau is no longer there. Jimmy Butler is no longer there. Andrew Wiggins is no longer there. Everything is in a shambles right now. They brought in D'Angelo Russell in a trade, trading Andrew Wiggins. They were trying to flip D'Angelo Russell after that trade to either Miami or the Wizards or wherever he was headed. So my argument to Mikey C is Karl Anthony Towns has 3 years left on his deal. He's one of the best, most talented big men in the NBA right now. He averaged 26 points a game to about 9 or 10 rebounds a game. He averaged double-double a game. He's not Anthony Davis. He's not the Greek freak. He's a little bit under them, just a little bit. My argument with Mikey C was, why not the Knicks? The Knicks right now, this coming season, at the end of the season, the 3 or 4 contracts that they signed last year, they can opt out of those contracts this year. You look at the New York Knicks as a whole right now, they might have 3 players they can build their team around. Julius Randle, R.J. Barrett, and Robinson. Knox is taking a step back. Ntilikina has looked better this year. Dennis Smith Jr. looks like a bust since they made the trade with Dallas, bringing him in from KP, and they brought the 2 first-round draft picks. We'll see what the Knicks do with those 2 first-round draft picks. I told Mikey C that why not the Knicks? If Karl Anthony Towns is available this offseason, which I absolutely believe he is, and Karl Anthony Towns came out this past season and said he wants out of Minnesota. Karl Anthony Towns will be available this offseason. The question with this trade, if it does happen, is who? Karl Anthony Towns said that the Knicks, the New York Knicks, are one of the 3 teams he'd be interested in going to. Everybody's going to say, well, why does he want to be a Knick? Well, one, Leon Rose, his old agent, is now running the New York Knicks. He's the president of the New York Knicks organization. And the Knicks right now have the money, have the draft stock, and have some good young players that they can move. And I'm not talking about R.J. Barrett. Kevin Knox is 20 years old. We don't know what Kevin Knox is. We don't know what he could be or what he should be in the future. He's a piece. Is he an expensive piece? No. The Knicks could throw him in the trade with 4 or 5 draft picks. Would that seal the deal for somebody like Karl Anthony Towns? Absolutely does. Anthony Davis was traded for 4 first-round draft picks, 3 lottery picks, and a player. And if the Knicks are willing to give up 3 to 4 first-round draft picks and a player, they're going to get Karl Anthony Towns. Dana White has been the joke of the UFC. And this is a man who built MMA, built the UFC for what it is. He's ruined the next Ultimate Fighter. He goes out with Matt Serra trying to discover the next big superstar in the UFC. That didn't work. This has been a huge problem. The UFC is not moving up. They're moving down. You look at boxing. Boxing has found their next superstar, their next 2 or 3 superstars. You have guys like Ryan Garcia, who's knocking out people in the first round. You can't even see his punches because he's so friggin' fast. Canelo Alvarez is on top of the game. He's the biggest prestige boxer in all of professional boxing. And then you have the heavyweight division with Joshua and Wilder and Fury. The heavyweight division hasn't been this good in a very, very long time. What has the UFC done? Now, they had this fight, and I thought it was only 4 times that this fight never happened in Ferguson and Khabib. It's been 5 times. This is the 5th time that it's been canceled. To me, Dana White has ruined UFC 249. He tried to bunch this together. Then he said he was going to put it on an island or put it somewhere in California so there's no coronavirus. It's an absolute joke what the UFC is doing to their product right now. They're watering down their product and ruining their product. Dana White, since Conor McGregor has come back, he's not only kissed Conor's ass, he has a lot to say about other fighters like Demetrius Johnson, who was one of their best fighters. They called him Mighty Mouse. He decided to sign with another organization for a year. They bring in another guy that nobody gives a crap about. And the UFC is a complete joke right now. And the UFC thought they were going to save what's going on. There's no sports on TV. So you know what they're going to do? They're going to not cancel UFC 249. They're going to have Gaethje drop out of the Conor McGregor fight to fight Ferguson. And then all of a sudden, today, 2 days before the card, Dana White cancels the fights. If you're a UFC fan, or you're a mixed martial arts fan, you cannot be happy about this. Not at all. I'm very intrigued with the Browns because the Browns have been the talk of the town really since this offseason started. And the reason why is they have players that they can move, they can trade. One of them we've been hearing massively, that's Odell Beckham. The Browns are always in the mix of making trades. And the story coming out from Cleveland is there are two teams that are very intrigued in making a trade with the Browns. One of those teams is the Minnesota Vikings. And I'm questioning what Minnesota is thinking right now. I understand they traded Stephon Diggs, and Stephon Diggs did not like being over there. He doesn't like Kirk Cousins. There are stories coming out that Thielen is not a big fan of Kirk Cousins. Now you're bringing in possibly Odell Beckham, who has been a quarterback basher. And Odell Beckham is a great player, but how many great seasons have we seen Odell Beckham have? He's really been back and forth with the Giants and then going to the Browns. It's been 2 years, 3 years since Odell Beckham's had one of those crazy years where he had 1,400 yards and 10 touchdowns. Since he was traded to the Cleveland Browns, he only has 4 touchdowns. I think he's only had 4 or 5 100-yard games. And when you look at Odell Beckham and his talent, you would think that Odell Beckham is one of the most talented offensive players in the NFL. And this is a guy that can't get over the hump no matter where he goes. Now, he obviously has a lot of alpha dogs over there in Cleveland. You have Jarvis Landry, you have Baker Mayfield, you have Chubb. If Cleveland is willing to trade Odell Beckham, what is he going to get back for him? Are they going to get a second and a fifth? Or a second and a fourth? Because if they do not get a second and a third or a second and a fourth, it's not worth trading Odell Beckham. There are a lot of players that were trying to make money on jersey sales, trying to make money on autograph sales, because I believe that a lot of these players, and I'm not even talking about football, a lot of these basketball players with the NBA, with the G League, they're starting to plan to go and play in the G League instead of going to play for a college team because they can make $500,000, up to $500,000. They can make endorsement deals right now with the G League. So why would you go and play for a college basketball team when you can make all your money right now and then have the opportunity a year later to go into the NBA? So I think the NCAA have to find a way where these players can bring in revenue where they can stay and play for a college basketball team.
Well, that will always
or a football team. What was interesting about The Last Dance over the weekend, especially Sunday, episodes 5 and 6, is you got to learn a lot about Scottie Pippen. And Scottie Pippen was probably the most disrespected player on the Chicago Bulls. And what I mean by disrespected is that the organization really didn't respect him as a player. If Scottie Pippen never came back, they would have never won the title in 98. They were 0-4 in the beginning of the season. And they didn't start taking off until Scottie Pippen came back. So that team was all over the place. Now, I look at the Chicago Bulls a completely different way when you watch these different episodes. And I'm not going to take shots at Jerry Krause because he's dead. And I'm not going to take shots at Phil Jackson either because we all know what Phil Jackson did to the New York Knicks. But I look at Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen was probably the third or fourth best player in the NBA when he was on the Chicago Bulls in 1998. And when Michael Jordan retired for the year and a half that he was gone, Scottie Pippen was averaging about 26, 25 points a game. And he was easily the best player on the Chicago Bulls. And they were one game away from being in the NBA Finals.